Yep. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to this very first day for GSGS'21. My name is Stefan Gebron, and I will make a very short introduction to the conference itself. The content of this very short presentation is the following. I will first introduce Julien Schechter and Julien Sen, and then I will make a very short summary of the purpose of the GSGS. Then I will just show the experience we had already because it's the 6th edition. And then I will illustrate the session and the program. And just before giving the hand to Julien Schechter, we will see a short video on La Source, who will welcome us on site in Lausanne next week for the main sessions. Julien, can you go on the next slide, please? Yeah. Yeah, the main aims and goals of the GSGS is to bring together plenty of very different type of domains. It can be health, it can be economy, it can be, well, almost everything. Of course, some domains are more important, let's say, for gamification and serious game. We see that health and education and training are definitely domains that takes a very large part of the market nowadays. Can you click? We'd like to bring together companies and academic worlds, and that's the very big difference with classical conferences. Here, it's not about academy, it's not about business in a company, it's about bringing both worlds together and make projects if possible, and of course, click. Yeah, you click too fast, I suppose. Can you just, yeah. And of course, in the subject of gamification and serious gamings. Click. The experience, as I said early in my speech, is the 6th Gamification and Serious Game Conference. We'd like to thank on the genesis of the conference, the NIF. So it's a fantastic film festival of Neuchâtel, who allowed us to be there today. And if you can see on the very first slide edition, we were very close to the cinema. And how gamification and serious gaming could get through interactive cinema. Nowadays, we are fairly independent. Fantastic film festival of Neuchâtel. Can you click? Okay, here is the main session in blue. You will see that there's 3 main online sessions that will be animated by Julien Schechter. Hi, Julien. And there will be 4 other sessions, mainly in orange here, the 2 days on next week's Thursday and Friday. Can you click? Here is the full and detailed program. All that you can go online at the gsgs.ch, and you will be able to see every sessions in detail. Please notice that there's quite a large part of the health, especially this year, since we are at La Source, a health school in Lausanne. You click. Let's start by a short video especially talking and presenting La Source. And I will leave you now in the very good hand of Julien Schlichter just after the video.
Thank you, Stefan, and thanks everyone for watching with us. This was this small video presentation of La Source, where the main sessions will be held with everyone being on site, which is, of course, more pleasant, but we'll continue online as we did it last year. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome all the authors and the audience of this first discussion roundtable of the 6th International Conference on Gamification and Serious Gaming, GSGS, as we know it, 2021. We will talk about education today, which is, and it will be very interesting because we have a very delicate and very difficult subject to address. And we will discuss the fun on playing those games with life and death decisions, either literally, because we will talk about prevention in HIV, the case is HIV prevention, and we will figuratively play someone who has to save hostages from bombs. So that's also life and death experience. And we will see the fun in it and the serious part in the serious gaming. Education is, of course, a big field for serious gaming in terms of success, in terms of money, in terms of recognition. It's one of the main fields where serious gaming is known and has recognition. So we'll address those problems. Let's meet maybe the creators and authors with a short video of their game. Maybe we'll say first hi to Maëlys Dautefeuille. Hello, Maëlys. Maybe you can just say hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us. And you have also the screen of your game behind you. We'll see we'll see a short video from your game, and then we'll ask you a few questions so the audience can meet you a little more. So, Julien, maybe the video from the lake.
The game we would like to present is called The Lake. It has been created as part of a mandate carried by Jen End for a video game about HIV prevention in Nairobi in Kenya. The game has been made for young girls in their late adolescence. 16 to 18 years old, as they are the first victims of HIV. We choose to tell the story of a lake as our common thread. The story begins in the bedroom of Mutiny, a 16-year-old girl who is bored with her perfectly ordered life. The player plays Mutiny. She dreams of independence and new experiences, but she stays locked up in her room like many teenage girls. As the day goes by, she watches from her window a puddle in a vacant lot that grows into a pond, a marsh, and finally a lake that overlays all the houses and shops in her neighborhood. This is where her adventure begins. She gets out of her room and starts to explore the place around the lake. As she goes on her excursions, guided by the lake, she meets several characters around the park, the bar, the sandwich stand, or the bookstore. Gloria becomes her best friend. She is an enterprising, self-confident person and helps Mutiny to better understand her environment. Willy Fungi also cross her path. There is also Azir, the bookstore employee who Mutiny will fall a little in love with. He has mostly come to terms with her sexes and he is funny, attractive, loves to seduce. But he is suspicious of a relationship for fear of being obsessed with them. He has been influenced by the masculinist environment he lives. He is jealous, he despises it and tries to deal with it. Thanks to these different encounters, Mutiny experiences different delicate situations related to the discovery of oneself, one's limits, and one's body. The lake remains a guide for her. It changes color and shape and discloses more paths as she evolves. Every day, when the scene ends, Mutiny goes back to the lakefront to write her experience in her diary. The demo we wish to present on site describes Mutiny's last date with Azir at the lake. As the lake is Mutiny's place of introspection, Azir physically introduces himself into this intimacy by offering her to swim. The scene examines the sensuality that results from a first sexual intercourse, but also the discomforts that can go with it. The player is forced to choose to have sex or not with Azir. The demo addresses the issue of consent, of position between desire and fear of the other, but also of uncertainties. Love and friendship, risk-taking, joy and disillusionment throughout multiple choices. It captures a crucial moment in the life of most teenagers to reflect on the consequence of the choice they make. The player cannot reverse his decision as the scene goes, but he can take side roads that confirm or deny his initial impulse. The scene reveals the discomfort or misunderstanding that can result from a first sexual intercourse and encourage teenagers not to remain in silence in front of those emotions.
Thank you, Melis, for this video presenting the game. Maybe just to know a little bit more about you, can you just in a few seconds introduce yourself and what you are doing with that project?
So I'm a master student in ed in media design. And so we, during the first semester, work with EVOS, which is an association in Kenya that works against HIV. And I come from graphic design, and I worked with Lison Christ, which is basically an industrial designer, and Maxime Magnin, who also comes from graphic design. And we built this narration together with narration courses, of course. And we also worked with an expert who is in Kenya to have a field observation and direct information about how the life is in Kenya.
And in which stage is your project? Has it already been set out? Are you still in the demo version? What is the stage of accomplishment of the game?
So we are just in a demo version because actually all our class were supposed to construct a game by group of 3, and at the end, one of them will be chosen to be developed with the association. So ours were not chosen, but we still wanted to do a concrete demo that could clearly work and show the interactive stuff.
Thank you very much. It looks very nice. We will talk about this delicate subject, of course, with another project because it's also on HIV prevention, also from HEAD. We have with us Chloé Michel and Paul Belloncer. Nice to have you with us.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all, and we are glad you are here. You have the same background as it's one of the same projects. We'll see first your video of the project Amani, my friend, and we'll then discuss it a little bit further with you. So, Julien, we can play the video.
Meet Amani, my friend, a mobile-based interactive narration that explores the importance of friendship in the context of HIV prevention in Kenya through playful minigames and heartfelt conversations. This project was created by Paul Belloncer, Alejandra Oros, and Chloé Michel at EdGenève in partnership with Janandit, Evos, Naya, and with the help of local expert Josephine Odiambo.
This game was designed to target an audience of young Kenyan women in the age of sexual exploration, with a limited understanding about safety and sexuality issues and its consequences.
Regarding the fact that sex is a taboo subject in Kenyan families, we thought of the game as a safe space for the player, by designing it as a complete phone inside the player's phone, allowing us to integrate useful apps and a complete source of information regarding sexual health. The app is therefore protected with a password to avoid gatekeepers and allow the players to have privacy.
Meet Amani, a 16-year-old Kenyan girl from a traditional upbringing about to have her first sexual experience. She is eager to become an adult and perceives sex as an ultimate barrier. However, she is uninformed about the consequences of having unprotected sex and comes to the player looking for help and advice. In this game, the player can influence the story path and therefore Amani's life, depending on the answers she gives to her. Some choices can lead Amani to make wrong decisions about her sexual safety, whereas some others will help her to understand how to protect herself while enjoying a healthy sexual life. Throughout the game, the player can play different arcade-inspired minigames illustrating sexual safety measures, such as the different means of contraception and protection.
To be able to develop an accurate experience for the Kenyan audience, we collaborated with local sexual health expert Josephine Odiambo. She shared her experience not only as a young Kenyan woman, but also as a sexual health activist, therefore helping us find Amani's voice.
The story path of Amani focuses on HIV prevention, although the game dynamics could be expanded to tackle other sexually related subjects, such as transsexuality or pregnancy, through different stories and characters. At the core of Amani, my friend, is the idea that being there for your friend can make a big difference in their life.
Thank you for this video, Chloé Michel and Paul Belloncer. Just a few words with you. Maybe Chloé Michel will start with you. Can you introduce yourself and what was your motivation maybe for that project?
Sure. So I'm Michelle. So like my list before, I'm in a master media design. I come from a background in interactive design. And we work together with Paul and Alejandra, who could not be there today, on this game. So it was with in partnership with Janandit and Evos to tackle HIV prevention in young women in Kenya. And we worked with Josephine Jambo, which is also a local expert in Nairobi, to better understand the context there. And maybe Paul can introduce yourself too.
Yes, I'm also a student in Master Media Design first year with Chloe, Michel, and Alejandra. I come from.
Maybe Paul, maybe your mic is just too far away. Can you just?
Sorry, I will keep it like this. I'm master, so I was saying I'm Master Media Design with Chloe and Alejandra, and I come from Fine Arts School in France, where I did design and space design, and yeah, we were. Really, I don't know how to say, a really fine team together with our experts, Josephine. We also did all the field observation and advices with the traditions and also cultures of the youth of Kenya. So it was really important to us.
Thank you very much. And what is the stage of your demo? Is it also the same as Mylis? It's still a demo game. How is it?
The game, as you see it now, is the demo, yes, which is still playable, but it's in. We want to develop it as a web application that can be downloaded then, and we have been selected by the organization to develop the game for Kenya, and we are now. There's a bit of administration complexity behind it, but they want to develop it. I think the school and our professor are still talking about how they want to do it and who is going to develop it. But yeah, it's on the way to be developed.
Cool. We'll talk more about tackling those hard subjects in gaming and in the gaming process just after we meet our third participants today. Welcome, Tawat Manar. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We will see your presentation. We are turning to another type of games with VR and another subject. I will let you explain it in the good video that you made. We can play it, Julia.
Hi, my name is Tiro Watmoner. It's my pleasure to have a chance to tell you a little bit about my PhD project. The talk today will be entitled Investigating the Role of Theory of Mind on Stress and Adaptive Behavior with VR. This project is supervised by Professor David Rudolph at University of Geneva. Theory of mind is known as an ability to attribute mental states, including beliefs, intention, and desires. This ability constitutes an ability to adapt and predict behavior, so you can understand what other people are thinking and what they will be doing. This is also known as mentalizing and mentalization. There are two motivations behind this project. The first one is to characterize theory of mind in more details. We'll look at this process as made up of two sub-processes, inferring information and utilizing information. The second goal is to perform a psychosocial study in a more ecological and dynamic but controlled environment. That's why we use virtual reality. The research question is how healthy adults infer and utilize information obtained from interpersonal interaction. We hypothesize that individuals use theory of mind to reduce their stress level in a psychosocial task under uncertainty. And individuals who are better in reducing stress using this ability perform better in the task. Here's the design of the task room. In each task room, there will be two elevators. The participant will come to this task room using this elevator, performing the task, and move on to the next trial using this elevator. In each task room, there will be one hostage with a biochemical weapon installed in their body. And this weapon is a time bomb. So the participant will have a limited amount of time to deactivate the bomb. To activate the bomb, the participant has to press one of these two identical buttons. One of them is a diffuser, the other one is a detonator. If the participant presses on the detonator, the participant will activate the bomb on the hostage and kill the hostage. Around the detonator, there's also an acceleration zone. If the participant or the hostage steps inside this zone, they're going to activate this zone and make the time acceleration goes faster, and that will kill the hostage faster. Behind these two buttons, there are two exits. Where the hostage will use one of these exits to go out of this facility. Because it's a time bomb, so here's a timer when the participant can see how much time they have left. To help the participant identify the location of the diffuser, they will have to a chance to get some information from surveillance cameras in the task room, showing what's going on in the task room that they're about to enter. What they will see inside the elevator are two screens. These two screens show the same footage, but different focusing powers. This one will be focusing on the the hostage body, so the participant can interpret or infer what their mental states are. For the right one would be the global projection, so the participant can see from themselves the signal which will be given by a scientist character. For example, this one, the red light signal is given to the left button. That indicates that this one is a detonator. Then the participant has to avoid going to this one. We use red light to indicate danger, to indicate the not go there. Please don't go there. And this design will allow us to observe behavior of the participant in 6 different conditions. This 6 different condition is made up in a factorial design using the 2 parameters. The first parameter is the hostage belief. Second one is the participant's belief. The hostage can have true belief, false belief, or no belief, meaning no information about the diffuser. The participant can have true belief, no information. Here is the first example, when the participant has a true belief, but the hostage has no belief about the position of the diffuser. In front of you, you see 2 screens. In the left screen, you will see that the hostage is turning her back to the room, so she doesn't see the signal given behind her, and it's changed from here to here. After that, the participant has to rate their confidence about the position of the diffuser and whether the hostage know about the diffuser and their stress level of accomplishing the task. So after getting this information, the participant knows which button to go to. So she went to this one and she accomplished in this trial. So now she moved on to the next trial using the elevator. The second scenario would be when the participant has to intervene because the hostage has a false belief. You can see that the hostage first saw the signal here, and then she turned her back to the room. The signal moved to this one, but she didn't know. Then again, the participant had to rate their confidence about this position. Very confident, 7. For the hostage, maybe not, 4. That stress level increased a little bit to 4. So let's see how she does. She's trying to intervene to change the course, but it was too late because the sign was up before she arrived at the diffuser. The protocol will give us multiple types of data that I don't have time to talk about today. If you're interested, we can discuss later. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to also thank the organizer for giving me a chance to present to you today my project. I hope to see some of you in Lausanne very soon. Have a good day. Bye.
And we have the chance to have you right here with us, and welcome to everyone who is joining us on this session about education. We are through the 3 projects, but now not through the 3 authors or creator, and we want to meet you a little more. Terawatt Monor, if I'm saying it right. Maybe a little introduction about yourself and what the project stage is about right now.
Hi, on top of what I already said, so I'm a PhD student at University of Geneva. So right now, the project is still we're trying to pilot the protocol itself. It's like 90% finished, 97% finished. So now it's just validating if everything works properly, if all the conditions work properly, and there's no bugs and unexpected situation that would happen, and it will, but because any unexpected situation would alter the behavior of the participant, and that would be outside of what we want to vary. We have 6 conditions, if you can remember, and we want to, the participant to actually behave specifically in those 6 conditions. It's kind of when we give the participant freedom to react in the space. So we have to make sure that everything is controlled very well, but we give some room for the participant to perform. It's a balance between complexity and the ability of the participant to interact with the environment. So we are about to finish piloting very soon, and we will start collecting data. We will start recruiting human participants very soon.
Nice. Okay, thank you very much, Terawat. I have a few questions on all those beautiful projects. First of all, bravo. It's hard to put up a game in serious gaming. I know what you are going through. I've done it also. I have a first question because when I saw these 3 projects in the education session today, I had the thought, these are all very sensitive, emotional, delicate topic. As for the lake, for sexual education, HIV prevention as well, of course, with Amani, my friend, and there's this kind of life and death questions in your project, Terawat. How did people react when you told people around you, I'm going to build a game around that question? I'm going to build a serious game to improve this prevention. How did the people react? Were they surprised that you could put such serious matters into a game? How was the reaction? Maybe we'll start with you, Mylis.
So I think like the educational dimension of the game is quite known today. So it was like people were not surprised about the subject. I think in our case, it was more a question of legitimacy, since we are European and we talk about Kenya and we are not on site. But with the experts, we had the chance to work with experts, and so that was a way to get the chance to know more about like the context in which we put the game. I think it was the main difficulty, more than the subject itself.
Chloe, Paul, is it easy to translate in a game such question as sexual education, because there are of course morality behind those questions. There are some personal aspects as well, and we know that when we are making games, most of the time we have to simplify things. We have to make them easier and understandable in 2 or 3 seconds with an action that comes. How did you do that with so important subjects?
I think what's difficult is to keep your objectivity when you're making a game, because you're obviously inserting bias when you're creating a game and you're talking. I am the part of a team of 3 person, but we've tried to kind of be in the head of a young Kenyan girl, and it's not obviously our situation. So we had the opportunity to have this expert, but still we were really focused on this reality and this objectivity, and still implement this in a game which can also help people, but not tell them what to do, to be kind of more like a friend. I think we had this idea when we talk with our experts, which is who is an activist, and she's working with people who are in this case who contracted HIV or other STIs, and they talk more to as a friend than as a official person, so that they have more a close range or close relationship. So we thought that we need to keep this relationship and to focus on friendship, I think. So we try to do an unofficial tone of voice, and I think it's what best for this subject. It's to still take it light, kind of, and yeah, even if it's hard. And
Yes,
maybe Chloe.
It's a challenge, Chloe. Can you avoid cliches or morality in the game when you have to simplify everything from the 2 choices or 3 choices in the
Yeah.
game?
It's hard to avoid cliche, and I think that's why we designed the game as to that the player is the one giving advice and not ourselves through the game. We put ourselves through Amani in the position of someone that doesn't know the answers and that is asking to the player, and according to the player answers, will live her life in a way or in another. So not protect herself if the player doesn't say to her to protect herself, and then see the possible consequences. But I wanted to add also that one of the main challenge we had in this game was to create a game that could actually be played by young girls in Kenya, even though it is really taboo to it would be really taboo to play a game about sexuality. So that's why we designed the game as a messaging app. So from outside, it just shows as someone, as the player is talking to a friend and not just really playing a game. And as a safe space, also protected by a password, so we can avoid gatekeepers and make it sort of blend in the phone and not look as much as a game.
Mic is off, I think.
Sorry for that, Stéphane. We still have Stéphane Gobron with us. You wanted to add something, Stéphane?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. And I am very, very impressed, I must say, because as Julien said, this is definitely a very delicate subject. And considering, I mean, you are guys in Europe and you are working on a subject that should be used in Africa, very far from the custom for the society, from, I mean, everything. So my first say is bravo, really. It's great to tackle this kind of difficult subject. I would like to ask 2 questions, very different. First of all, I had some hard time to understand the game mechanics of you guys' games. Is it is it based on a storytelling with question and multiple choice stuff for each? And so can you explain a bit more about the game mechanics first? And my second question was about our end users. Do you have some feedback from actual end users on the ground over there? Thank you so much for the answers.
For the game, the mechanics are quite simple. We try to focus first on the storytelling. So we wanted the player to act on the storytelling. So he has choice. It's a multiple choices story. And we wanted to add also some dynamic, because otherwise we thought it will be a little bit boring, maybe, or too literal, maybe, I don't know, about this game. So we tried to implement also some mini games inside the game, which can also illustrate the problem. As for example, when Amani has to protect herself, she has to learn about different protection, as condoms, IUDs. And we try to play a simple game like a spaceship type of invaders game, and you have to destroy the Siemens and the viruses with the right bonuses. And when you know that this bonus gives this protection, you also understand better the mechanics and also real life situation maybe. So it's a kind of fun and still dynamic way to talk about real problems. And yes, that's it. That's the main mechanic of the game. Choices of narration and mini games. And if you want to add something, maybe Chloe, I don't know, for the second question.
And for the end users, we couldn't have real young Kenyan people testing the game, but we had all the experts that helped us make the game that actually played it, because we did the couple presentations where they would be the one playing and choosing the answers, and they were always really into trying to give the right answer to Amani, even though they knew that it was only a game. They were really into that. They thought the little games were a way to put more distance and make it more playful through, even though we were still tackling difficult subjects, especially in Kenya. And yeah, I think overall they thought it was really nice to make it playful.
I'll turn to Maëlys, maybe also to explain some game mechanics. You're in quite the same way, and narrative storytelling. I'll go to that subject just after that, but it's the same. I have to make choices. Is it right?
Actually, like, yeah, you have choices to make, and this is one of the main interaction. We have another one which is text field, and so in certain questions, it's the player that has to fill a box about how he would express the answer that is asked. And it's a way actually to put the adolescent to find ways of communication. And we know that at this age, like expressing desire or fear is quite difficult. And so we thought that as a game mechanic, it could be very interesting to have field text to have in the game. And we also plan that at each day, so our game works as a week, so each day has a different scenario. The player goes back to the lake and has kind of a diary to feel about his emotion or the fear he had in the game. And we plan to collect all those testimonies. So in a way, the game could go a little bit further and become kind of a platform. And it's not a game mechanic, but the game mechanic serves another purpose that is not playable, actually.
This is also very interesting. Thank you, Maëlys. I want to go to another common point of all your three projects, serious game in the education field. You all three took the way of a kind of immersive strategy in the VR game, and I'll go to you, Terawat, first, but also in those two prevention HIV game, because you have to identify with this young woman and you have to help her, so you kind of role playing. Why did you choose to go in an immersive strategy, Terawat? Why did you choose VR to test your subject in your field of research?
I think that's a very, very big question. I mean, at the beginning, you can I got attracted to this technology because it was new, but then you like some other techniques, when it's very new, I just wanted to learn, because it's new and it's innovative. But then when you actually get to learn about it, you have to be, when I say you, I mean me, I have to be very careful, because it's not just only because it, shining and just attractive, but it actually has its own value. In psychological research, for example, there's a reproducible crisis in psychological research. So, and one of the reasons for that could be because of the ecological validity of the tests or tasks that people in psychology have been using for a very long time, because the result that you get from those tasks could be because of how they how they administer the task, or it could be about many things. But if we put our participants or subject in the VR, and we're trying to control everything as much as possible, the same environment VR in Europe would be the same in Asia, would be the same in North America. So it's a way to standardize the experiment, and also to increase ecological validity. So it doesn't matter who is the experimenter. That's the main reason. And there also a benefit of increasing ecological validity, because if we can make people actually feel like they are there, so it's just like if you watch a very good horror movie, you actually feel like you are there, and you actually scare, and you express real emotion, you express real behavioral responses. I think that's what we want. What we want is to use the immersion aspect of virtual reality and actually make them feel or make them behave as if they're actually in that environment. But we can also, in a very high level, protect them from physical or mental harm that they can get if we actually put them in that, real situation, and let them behave. I think those are main benefits of using virtual reality. Yeah.
Thank you. Chloe, I'll turn to you. How did you choose to be the friend? Because it's not the same thing. We have two different immersive situations in the HIV prevention games. The lake, you are the young woman, and you have to make some decisions for yourself. If I understood correctly, in Amani, my friend, you're helping this young lady. How did you choose that point of view?
We chose that point of view because prior to actually thinking the game, we did a lot of role playing with our experts to try and see how young women can talk about sex through friends, or how it is in Kenya when talking about those subjects. And we realized when talking with Josephine that it was actually really taboo, and that actually a lot of young girls won't go to their friends to talk about it. They won't go to anyone. They would just keep it to themselves. And so we thought that if we were playing the friend giving advice and we were asking the player to ask for advice, they would not do so. So we decided to reverse the roles and to have the character in the game talking to the player and asking them questions, because then the player has the choice to answer however they want, and they don't feel like they have to confide into someone. They don't have to talk about their private life. Someone is talking to them and they're giving the advice and seeing how it goes. So they're not so much forced to share private matters, even though to a game, because we reverse that situations. But they still learn about the consequences of not having protected sex, or on not thinking about consent, because then it's their friend through their advice that goes through this. But then it makes it less personal, and we realized that they were more inclined to play the game if they weren't the one talking about sex, but someone was talking to sex about them.
We have a question on the chat. Of course, if you're following us on YouTube, you can ask some questions to all those young authors. We have one which is actually tackling that subject. It's Sam Rossetti. Hi, Sam. I have a more generalist question to these young authors. Do you consider yourself as gamers? And do you think that your generation is more prone to positively react to serious game or gamification? We talked before, and all three of you are not serious gamers, were not serious gamers or game developers before this project, but were you players? Tarawat, are you a player?
A game player? No, I'm not a game player, actually. Well, I think I learned about, well, I've been in research and science for so long. I think I started to learn about gamification as a tool to help research, to make research more just as I said, immersive. And we want to find something, we want to create a task that can actually make people very expressive, very feel what we want them to feel. And gamification can be like a tool to get them there, to get them to that mental state, and then we can observe whatever come out of that those mental states. I actually learned about the word gamification and serious game after I already started developing the method and the tool. Yeah.
Which shows that serious gaming is a very old thing that we do. It's just a new name, or new is even maybe not so new right now. Melis, what is for you? Were you a player before? Did you play? Do you play games? And do you think your generation is more open or more exposed to gamification aspects?
It's funny because like many people ask this question when we talk about our games, and I'm not a gamer myself, but I watch a lot of people playing games, because I think when you are a designer, it's a bit difficult to be in an immersive experience because you are constantly thinking about the game mechanics since you conceive yourself games. And for me, it's a very disturbing experience and I can't do it. But I think in a way, it's good to not be a big player, because you can conceive new ways of interaction, because you don't have cliche in your head about how a game is supposed to work, and you don't reproduce game interaction that already exists. So, like, I think I will continue to not play games and still observe games. But as the concern for gamification, yes, maybe. I think our generation is more likely to, like, even in educational course, sometimes you have, I don't know, learning curves that show you how much you learned, and you have a tick that show you that you are at this stage, and you have still all of that to do. And in a way, this is game way of learning. So, and I think it's quite used now in programs. So yes.
Of course, even when you learn another language, you turn the card, you have the name on the card, and you have definition on the other side. That's already a game to learn. I was seeing Paul react. Did you have a reaction?
Yes, I have a different aspect and also position on this. I think I'm a gamer since long time ago, and I've been playing since I can remember. And also my father has been playing, and I think we like games, and we see games as quite a serious matter. No matter what game, I think we see can provide also a serious aspect to something, even if the game is looking quite silly, I think. And I think, for example, my I don't know, my father, he showed me a lot of game when I was young, and I still see him play a game that feels kind of in the first aspect fun, and they kind of focus on the mechanics and but in a way they understand there is a more serious topic behind it. Like, for example, my father, I talk about him a lot. He was playing This War of Mine, which is also a game which focuses on a survival game, which is quite not really original in a sense, but talks about a really also serious subject. And I think I saw this also quite often in games where I can also visualize serious things. So I think gamification, I heard that quite a time ago. I have friends also working in the development, and I like developing games. And yes, for me it's different. I think I like to play, so I have the two perspectives, I think. I don't know if
Thank you very
that.
much. We have a very interesting question from Alexandra Zaharia. She's following us. Hi, Alexandra, on YouTube. Hi, very inspiring and beautiful projects, all three of them. And for the head projects, given the sensitivity, will the games be played with assistance or individually? Is there any debriefing planned? And that's a very good question. What's the follow-up on those games and the emotion that you can create? Because we create serious games because we want the players to get involved emotionally. What have you planned? And I'll go to you first of all, Chloe, because your game is most probably going to be developed and being played. Is there some debriefing or maybe a number you can call or something you can do if you feel something about the game? And can you play it in groups or is it built to be played individually?
Yes. Thank you first for the questions. The game has been thought to be played individually because since it's very taboo in Kenya to talk about these subjects, we wanted the player to feel safe and be able to play it by themselves. After, if they want to share the game with their friends, it is encouraged because it's the whole point of the game. It's to show how friendship can be a great thing in tackling those subjects, and to have someone to talk to is important. And consider about the debriefing, we thought the game, the conversation part is actually one part of the whole app, where all the narration and the choices are made. But you can get out of this and have other apps, and as you go through the narration, you get information about like health centers in Nairobi, but also association that exists tackling those subjects and that can help young women to get more information. And all of this will be included in the game. So the player, by downloading the game, will have the numbers safely stored into the game that they can call if they want someone to talk to that is safe. Places they can go to, all the information they need that will be provided by the NGOs we worked with there and that have all the information. And the game could also be uploaded with updates if the numbers change or if new facilities are created. And so yes, the debriefing is included inside the game, so the player always knows where to go and who to call if needed.
Maëlys, what is it for you?
So the display is quite the same because like our partner were the same. I think in our game, it was also important for us to have one player and that he plays the game by itself, because in a way, it's a way to give a voice to an often forgotten audience. So, and group session can be tricky sometimes, and sometimes you don't have the space to express yourselves. And in a way, this game offer a way to do it. So we plan to do it for only one player, and that is alone based to his game.
I hope we have answered Alexandra's questions. I have another one because in all of you, three of the games, we have stress, we have fear, we have abortion, we have death, we have very serious subjects. Are your games still fun to play? Will they be fun to play? It's one of course, the thing that makes you play. It's want to have fun. Or are there only games of tension, of stress, of narration and getting maybe interested by this thing? Or are there still fun games? What do you think about that, Terolat? Will I have fun while playing the game? Will I be too tense?
I think we want them to feel stressed, but I wouldn't use the word fun, but I want my participant to feel engaged and trying to, the motivation is a little bit different. Fun, it's more like, for me, fun is more like, you're doing something for yourself and to make yourself feel amused or entertained. But this one is more like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this task and I'm gonna do it for other, and trying to at the same time trying to serve myself because I want to help more people in the sense and that would be like the drive or the motivation that keep them going further during the task. Yeah.
Paul, will I have fun playing Amani, my friend? Can I have also some jokes in the game or something that makes me laugh? Or will I just be tense and hope that Amani is going to be okay?
I think, yeah, we try to implement with Josephine, also our experts, some, local also, how do you say, how do you say, argot?
Rewards or
yeah,
slang,
words and
slang.
trying to implement humor, also some kind of light. We try to treat it as a light subject still, and it's still two friends talking to each other, and also we try to keep this aspect, and also we wanted to add those mini games as I talked about sooner, and the way it adds dynamics. I think we try to avoid the kind of maybe boring text-based game with just choices, and the story is just scrolling. And so we wanted to. I think we tried. We kind of achieved to have this kind of dynamic evolving through the game. Yeah. I don't know.
If I can add, we that's why also we chose to make arcade inspired mini games, because the arcade mini games that are really quick are often also really fun to play. And
actually, that was one of my questions to you, Chloe. Did you put the mini games in it because the game isn't that fun enough?
It was a way to add more dynamics to just not just answering questions and choosing answers, but to make it more dynamic and playful, and to learn in a different way than just someone telling you what happens and what are the consequences. Then with the mini games, for example, the one of the spaceship, it becomes more playful because the player himself is choosing which protection to use, and then realize that the DIY is not effective against viruses, and then they learn by doing in a way, but through a mini game that is, and something that is not related to the body directly, but to a spaceship. So we put it in a different dimension, but with still the same dynamics, I think.
Thank you for this answer. We had Nicolas Wenk also watching us. Hi, Nicolas, on YouTube. Everyone can ask the authors some questions, and he has the same. If you don't aim your game to be fun, is it still a game? So I think we've answered that. But one thing maybe is in common in all three projects and is linked to that subject of being a game or being fun. It's the score. You don't have scores in your game. In both three adventures, you don't get a score. And we know that it's one of the rewards for players that you get some kind of score. And Paul is already reacting, so maybe he has a score.
Actually, we have scores.
Okay.
We have mini games, and so the fact is, like, you can play the story straight and just play the mini game one time. But once you play the story entirely, you can replay the mini games, and you have your high scores. Also, you have the fact of replaying the game to have the multiple stories, like achieving I wouldn't say good or bad ending, because I think it's already a bias, but I think those achievement kind of. So I think we have the score in this also that still does it feel like a real game, I will say. So a game, yeah.
Yeah, but we try to not put it too much forward, because the goal is to learn and to not feel like you did a wrong thing, a good thing or a bad thing, because it's about delicate subjects that it's not all place to say it was good or it was bad and you should do it like this. It's the player to realize it themselves, how they feel about it. And so we try to avoid being like good or bad, and to be more nuanced about this.
What did you not put scores in it, not to be too stressed, because you are already stressed by people that you're trying to save from this bomb?
I think it's based on the experimental design. So that people, you saw that there are 6 conditions, but we have multiple repeats. So they will have to go through multiple trial. So to be able to treat like the trial at the beginning and the trial at the end of the experimental session similarly. So the motivation should be similar. But we were afraid if we put scores up, so they're gonna be like, they might feel motivated later at the end when they see their score like going higher, or they might feel too stressed, just like you said, if they feel like their score is not high enough or something like that. But in a sense, they also get rewarded over the course of the experiment. So they will see like how roughly how many hostages they have rescued, and how many hostages they have killed or something like that. They kind of like keep track of how many hostages they have saved or they have killed, but not in the sense of like very literally or very concretely, like as numbers. I think there's still some element of like rewarding there, but it's not like very strongly or not very obviously there. Yeah.
Thanks, Stéphane Gobron is asking to react on that topic also of game and scores, Stéphane.
Yes, thank you so much, Julien. Well, I will be a little bit asking some tricky question here. First comment, when I'm listening to you guys, I have the feeling, maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, like gamification, serious game, and gamified simulation, well, it's kind of same thing. That would be my first question here. And my second question is two separate questions. The first one about the little games, the mini games we've seen for the HIV. Maybe I saw wrong, maybe it's my mind, but if I remember well, we could see that there were some spermatozoid, trying to reach the poor little girl, and hopefully she had some stuff to protect her or not. It reminds me an very old game about sex and the use of condoms, but it was very, very poorly graded because the fact was that end users were making an association with the male sex being evil. And how do you manage that part? So that's for you guys. And concerning the VR simulation, you are in a immerged and full of emotion because of the senses, the visualization, and the audio and stuff like that. And you are actually killing some people. And in the literature, most of the time, we say, beware. The end users are not supposed to kill anyone. Maybe they will get some warning and stuff like that, but killing even an agent is not so good. How do you manage that part? Thank you.
A lot of questions, Stéphane. We'll try to address them all. Tara, we'll start with the last one. VR, killing people. I'm sure someone has asked this, even people who tried your game. Is it moral? Is it okay? How do you respond?
I think there are two things, the two scales I can respond to this question. In the first scale is that at University of Geneva, there's a committee who takes care of what we can or we cannot implement in our protocol, and so this protocol would be one of the protocols that they will have to take a look and to say like, okay, this is good enough, or this is good enough that you can do it, you can get participant to be in this experiment. I also think that there's some violence element in games, right? You kill people, you shoot people when you play games. I'm not talking about the game that I'm trying to design, like the games. There's some violence elements and things like that. Does also exist, and it's not like it's not like violent. I wouldn't say it's violence, like that the ability to leave someone to death in this protocol is not new. It's just there, and it's just one of the elements that we're trying to include. And it's not like purposely kill someone, they're trying to save everyone in there, but in certain conditions, it would be more difficult for participants to rescue the hostage. They can attempt to rescue them anyway because there's just only two options, right? They can, if the participant doesn't have any information, he or she could choose just, you know, go randomly. That's what they can do as well. I think that's for specifically for the protocol. So to sum up, I think the ability to leave the participant to death is not new, and it's also happen, and it also occurs in other games as well. And in a bigger level, I think VR has been increasingly used in research. I think it's actually a very important issue and discussion to happen. You know, whether it's going to actually create some mental scars or something like that in people or not. I just started getting involved in this field, this VR experiment. So I'm not sure whether there's already a discussion about this ongoing, and it can or cannot affect participants or people in longer term. I don't know. It's just like when you go watch a horror movie. I'm gonna come back to horror movie again. For me personally, after watching horror movie, I get scared for like a week or something like that. I cannot be by myself during the dark or something like that. I think that's kind of normal. But whether VR would have the same effect and it would last about the same amount of time, or whether it would have a bigger consequence, I don't know. But I think it's just like a knife. VR is like you can use it in a good way, in a bad way. But it's new, so I think it's good that this kind of discussion happens. Yeah.
Stefan, you have a subject for next year. You have to find someone, a conference on the effects of VR on the long term, because VR is quite used right now. Thank you very much, Tarawat, for this answer. I'll just go to Chloe, maybe on the BS of sex education and during this narration oriented towards young female. Does the male have the bad role? Does the male is the evil? Because in games you of course have the hero and the villain. So who's the villain?
Yes, no, we try to avoid that bias. Maybe in the demo it doesn't show as much, but at no point do we say in the game that it's the male that has to protect the girl against STDs and has to think about protection. It's actually your shared, it is said in the game that it's a shared responsibility. So it's as much the role of Amani to think about protecting herself as it is of her boyfriend. And the way to show the little sperms against the spaceship is just a way to represent her body and what goes into it and if she's protected or not. But it's not really portraying it as the enemy to fight against, but just as that she also has the responsibility to take care of herself, because it is often forgotten, especially in young girls in Nairobi, that they can be their own protectors and that it's not the male that has to think of protection. They can also have this responsibility in the relationship.
Thank you very much, Chloe. And I will remind our audience also that these are your first games as serious game developers. So of course you are doing your first steps as well. And I'll go back to some of the audience we have on YouTube because there are questions asked. We have Bjorn Berg Marklund. Hello, Bjorn. Nice to have you with us. He says one solution to sensitive topics and giving players a voice is participatory design. Do you think it's possible to do it in these taboo areas? How do you think it will impact the design process? Do you think you could get some people involved in the design process? And I think you did it for some of your game, Melis, for example.
Yeah, actually we did it because the experts with who we were working were not designer, they were not gamer, they were activists or teachers. So we did participatory design, and it was hard because like part of the team doesn't have the same goals, and they don't. Sometimes it was difficult for them to understand the purpose of certain demos that we were trying. But yeah, of course, participatory design in those subjects is like elementary.
Maybe someone wants to add something on that. Could you, maybe there's something about the storytelling games, because in your case as well, and Chloe, there is one narration. Of course, you make choices, and your story goes from one step to another one. But do you think you could get people involved in, I don't know, writing chapter 2 or the following of the game? Could you get people involved, players involved as well?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, like Miley said, we have to get players involved, or actually the target audience. Like all games were co-written with the experts, so young women in Nairobi, because as designers in Switzerland, we don't know anything about the context there and how young people talk to each other and what are the taboos. And so we had to go through this participatory design and writing the narration with the people that could actually be the target audience of the games. I think it is really important when we do interaction and narrative design.
Maybe a question also for people that are watching you guys having a first experience in serious gaming and gamification. You use storytelling in all three of the subject, because even the hostage situation is storytelling. You're putting people in a certain atmosphere, but most probably for the two others, to write something that is compelling, that makes me want to go through it and make choices and come again tomorrow, not just play it once. It needs some talent. So were you helped by writers, people who really write stories, or did you do it by yourself? How did you did that, Paul?
We had the opportunity to work with our teacher also, Douglas Eldrick Stanley, which is also a developer in games, and he worked several years also on narration design for video games. So he helped us quite a lot on the story path and the players' choices, and we had the opportunity to work with him, but it's the only help we had, and we basically wrote the story by ourselves after this. Apart from this.
Annelies, how did you write your story?
We had small exercise actually with cards, and so we were picking a context, a character, and an object, and we did tries, and we actually discovered that one of the member of our team were very good at writing, and so Lison wrote basically the story, and we created together the character of the lake, which is a weird identity, and that is really a character in the game because he changed aspect, he guides Tony, and so adding a poetic value to the game, I think, helps the narration a lot.
Thank you. And Tarawat, how come did the idea of this hostage situation came about? You were testing stress. You could have done something else. How did this situation come? Who had the idea?
Well, this idea came from my PI, but the storyline around it, we developed together with the team. My supervisor, other lab members, and also the VR engineers that we had at the time. Yeah, we kind of, because some of us back then were gamers as well, especially the VR engineers. They were gamers, and they had a lot of experience in gaming. So then I think we kind of developed the storyline based on their experience and what we want as a scientist, to make sure that it's it makes sense, but it's not too complex for everyone to understand, because I think if you go very deeper in gamification, or you are a very serious game player, you can understand like the complexity of the gamification so easily. But because of this is a protocol that target general population, so it cannot be too complex, but it cannot be too simple either. So it's kind of like, so it was, the storyline was developed based on our experiences.
Maybe one last question about this narrative style for you, Chloe. There's the risk in those narrative games where you make choices A, B, sometimes C, but most of the time you just have two paths, and you have the risk of being a very passive player, just reading a book. You're not really getting involved, so you have to find tricks and some of the things in the story to surprise the player. Were you paying attention to those kinds of things when you are developing your game, just so that the players is not bored from just choosing at the end of chapter 1 yes, no, at the end of chapter 2 yes, no, I'll go, I won't? How do you manage that?
Yes, that's what was we were afraid of, the player just getting impatient or bored. I think that's why we came with this idea of putting mini games to target different decisions, and we have developed actually 3 of the mini games, but there could be more. And it's actually not just a two path possibility for the game. We developed one path, but actually in the whole storyline there could be, I think we decided on 4 or 5 different endings. So each question leads to each answer of the player leads to a completely different game. So you always have the possibility to play again, and just one change in the answer can change the whole story and take you to other mini games, which is how we thought the game. We wanted to be pretty short in length, so the player can get interested in trying to find the different ways he could have answered and how it could have influenced Amani's life. And yeah, but it's all, I think you don't play for more than 5 or 10 minutes just by the text. Every 5 or 10 minutes you have another interactive mini games that make it more dynamic and with more reason to the game.
Maëlys, you also have this narrative thing, but you have to put in some text, and that's one of the very interesting thing about your game. Was it also a discussion not to make it, how can it be compelling? How can it be interesting to put the game on again?
I think from our game, like we play on the contemplative dimension of the game, and this is where the graphics helps a lot. So it's true, we have a lot of text in our game, but we also have small animation that lasts a few seconds. And actually, like we worked with Maxime, who's also is an illustrator, and I think like you can let the drawings play talked by themselves, and it's also a way to interest your player. It's true that it is not active, but like our game is between a book and a film, and so it can be a new way to interact. Also, you don't have to be super stimulated at every point of the game.
We are nearly to the end of this audience and discussion with our audience on YouTube. I would like to thank everyone. I will have one last question from the audience. This question is from Che Govender. Hi, Che, thank you for being with us. The question is, how can VR games be designed to encourage repeatability, as most of the people don't continually use their headsets? That's a question for you, Tawat. Would your game be playable without VR, just on one screen?
I think it's possible, but personally, I think it would, the game is not complex enough. I think so we keep the complexity of the game in certain level, but we increase the immersive immersion. So then they actually feel engaged in performing the task. If we put in just on a flat screen, I think we need to increase the complexity of the task, because people just sit there and just play it. So the answer would be yes, but the complexity of the game might need to be increased. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I will just have one comment for Mohammed. Nice to have you with us as well. He's asking for screenshots of the game, so I will just let you know that there are some videos of all of the 3 projects just at the beginning of the video, and you will be able to see them again. If you're joining us right now, you can see the whole presentation and all the previous questions, of course, on this YouTube channel. Last questions for every participant, because I am a player and I always ask those kinds of player questions. But you're trying to do prevention, you're trying to do some stress, really important and serious data. But I always like to play the game badly. I always try to kill myself in the game or do the bad thing that I'm not supposed to do. And I like to do that in all the games I played. And is it something you have in mind when you build your game? Maybe someone wants to do the worst decision for Amani, or maybe someone wants to do something bad with the lake, or they want to kill the more hostages they can kill. And do you think about that while building the game? Because I don't think of one game that I haven't tried the other way, that I haven't tried to play not the hero, but the villain. So I'll let you answer this last question, every one of you, and then we'll have a conclusion. So who wants to go first? Paul, you're brave.
Yes, we thought about this question a lot when going through the end of the story writing. And we thought that we don't want to say to the player first that having HIV, contracting an STI is a bad ending, because morally that's also a bias and a judgment. So we try to say that whatever is just a bad or good friendship actions maybe, but they lead to the same end, or you stay close to your friend, but you learn that your action have consequences on your friend because you weren't there for your friend at the right moments. But you're still friend with the Amani, whether or not she contracted HIV or not, and it's not giving you a bad ending where it's like really dramatic, but it's more on the friendship, focusing on the friendship and what's the consequences of these actions.
Yes.
So Chloe, the ending is not, you're not my friend anymore. Remove.
No, we try to keep it light and not shaming the player about their choices. And also we thought about the people that could just try and just give all the bad answers and not be the good friend. And we made sure that whatever the path they chose, they would still get the educational information about protecting themselves and where they can find healthcare facilities in Nairobi. And so whatever the choices you take, the story will be different, but you will still get the same information in the end.
Maëlys, what about your game with the lake?
I think like making bad choices, like it's not bad, it's just a way to learn your own boundaries. And in this game, it's the purpose, like make bad choices, because then in real life, you will make better choices. And also in our game, you have times where a question is asked, you pick an answer, and then the question is asked again, but in a different way. And so I think clicking twice on the bad answer puts you in a weird situation and makes you think about what am I actually doing here. So it's part of the game mechanics, I think. And we thought about that.
And not all the players are like me. That's a good thing. Tara, what about you?
You'll be one of my outliers because we haven't actually thought about that. I think that there's some assumption or something that we have to ask. I'm not saying that in a bad way, it was just a joke. I mean, we didn't think about that because the intention we have, there's some assumption that we have to make. The assumption being that what the participant want is just to rescue other hostages. And that would be the intention that we will like want to reinforce in the participants' mind. Well, we will ask participants to confirm at the end, like whether you take this task seriously or not. If you don't, it's fine. But we can treat the data the way we treat the data of participants who take the task seriously. But it's the participant are still free to do whatever they want. We will deal with the consequences in the analyzing part, because it's not perfect, right? We don't expect everyone to behave in the same way. That's not human behavior. That's not psychology. Yeah. I'm not sure I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Terat, and you did a tremendous job. Thank you, everyone, because it's not always too easy to talk about curious gaming with people like us who know a lot about them, and we played a lot of them. And you had some audience that was also very precise on that question, and it's your first experience as serious game developers. So I would like to give you a big round of applause, which is also being the case on the YouTube channel right now from all the people that have followed us. And I want to thank you, all of you that were following us on YouTube and with your interesting questions. I hope we did answer them and that everyone tried to do their best while answering them. So thank you again. I will also give some thanks to Stéphane Gobron, General Chair of the GSGS and Editorial Chair as well. We will see you, Stéphane, on site in Lausanne. And of course, if you want to join us in the other online sessions, you're most welcome to be with us. And a big round of applause as well to Julien Sen, our technical wizard that makes everything possible online. And you can see, again, of course, the whole this whole session on the YouTube channel, and of course the presentation of the 3 games, the 3 videos of our authors. Thank you, Melis. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Terawat and Paul, for being with us today. I'll hope we'll meet again. That could be already on Thursday, 1st of July, 2 o'clock, same YouTube channel. We'll have a session about training games, which is not very far from educational things. So we'll have some interesting questions, and there are some brilliant projects as well. So I can't wait to meet you again on Thursday, 2 o'clock, 1st of July. See you then. Take care and play some games. Until then, bye-bye.